Cominciata la partita? Adesso? Perfetto.
The North Crew. The North Crew.
Ciao Canada!
Waste along those lines, and as we get set to sit down for a North Curve episode, we're almost tying in a wrap-up of last season and an optimistic outlook to the new season of 2012-2013. Michael Dimasio alongside Cathal Mullen. Cathal, how are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Well, you know, it's a wrap-up and it's a look to a better dawn, hopefully. Scott Ballum is with us. Scott has a chance to reintroduce himself for the second time. We got a chance to sit down with you, Scott, last time, and you had a big time experience with your season tickets, and now you're suffering from the UK, right?
Definitely, especially with all this rain at the moment. But it's hard trying to keep in touch with all the games when it's all you have. Obviously, is like yourself, internet access, unfortunately.
And the most shocking is the optimism being spewed out from Mr. Cash from the Lazio Fever forums. Usually the more negative, pessimistic fan. He's got a lot of positivity to bring to the table today, right, Cash?
I do, Michael. I do.
Everybody's looking forward to hearing from that. I think that was surprising in itself. In terms of Lazio and like I mentioned, as fans, it leaves you wondering at the end of every season. You have objectives, and one of our objectives was to finish in the Champions League as part of Eddie Reyes' crew. And looking back on the season, I don't know if I can say it was an utter failure. We won the Derby twice. We beat clubs that we have never beaten in years in terms of Milan, and we really outplayed Napoli and really made me believe like we were going to make the Champions League at that point. So I think that's the hardest pill to swallow, is the fact that we don't find ourselves training this year in Aronzo di Cadore in anticipation of a Champions League qualifier, for example. So is it fair to say that we could give them a letter grade of a failure? We can start with Cathal and Mr. Caxian, what you think in terms of either if it was all positive, negative, and how you viewed last season.
Honestly, in the end, I viewed it as somewhat inevitable. And that's really the only word I can think for it. I mean, we spoke back in the winter, and I think I at least gave off the vibe that we would come ever so close and yet fall short. I mean, it wasn't a complete failure by no means. You can never say it's a failure, when you reach European competition with the squad and all the resources we have. I mean, we can't expect much more, but there was just so many. As much as there were so many nice surprises with the two Derby wins and wins over the big teams, there were so many disappointments, and the two games that stick out in my mind are Siena and Palermo. And I guess if those results weren't so humiliating, you could probably say, it was a bit of an A season, but maybe an A minus, since we failed with maybe the higher end of what we wanted to achieve. But when you look at those performances and remind yourself of what occurred there, I think you have to say B plus is probably where to go with a grade. I mean, we just fell short, and I think it was always inevitable that we were going to fall short. And yeah, I think that's why you're going to see changes this summer.
Scott, was it something of being built up with all the preseason hype in terms of transfers and the results throughout the season, and then just kind of let the wind out of your sails with the actual inevitable finish for you, or did you see more positive than negative?
I must say, I suppose come the end, the main word that I found was disappointment. But having said that, at the start of any season for my side, all I want to see, or the biggest thing I want to see is Derby wins, and to finish above Roma is my number one target. So we achieved that. My second target is that I want to get into obviously the Champions League. After coming so close the year before, when there was just a few errors that we threw it away, and then again, it just felt that it was that same. It went so close, but as Cahill said, we made a couple of really poor games that did sort of just basically ruin the season really from my side. But on the whole, I think I have to take it as a decent season if you take into consideration the financial situation, the squad, the quality of the squad. There were certain highlights definitely closer. Unfortunately, getting injured, and the fact that towards the end of the season we just seemed to run out of steam and had obviously too many injuries that hit the end. I wouldn't be quite going A minus. I'd be looking more of a B plus B rating. But say the Derby wins were special, to be fair.
As fans, you can't ask for more. As specifically Lazio fans, usually the MO is to beat Roma and to finish ahead of them. And like you said, so under normal circumstances, it would feel like a completely positive season and you got everything you wanted. But Cash, why do I feel disappointed and why do I hate Udinese so much?
I was just gonna say because we have seen Udinese finish above us two years in a row, really, and I again feel that when it mattered the most, that's when we couldn't somehow handle the pressure. I mean, we had two very good derby wins. We finished above Roma, just as Scott pointed out. A couple of new idols in Klose and Lulic. But despite that, what we remember is that we couldn't somehow grab that third, even if it was in our hands. In January, we could have been competing for the Scudetto. And all of a sudden we find ourselves in a run of games without being able to win. We do suffer from the inconsistency somehow of Tara and Lotito to bring one player that could have given us a draw instead of a loss, a win instead of a draw, and we would have been in Champions League now. But it's hard to say it's a failure, even though I was very, very negative about Adireya and his way of playing and so on. With two derby wins, it's hard to say it's a failure. But at the same time, seeing Udinese finish above us again, and us giving that spot to them again, is I think what hurts more than anything.
That was a key word, giving it to them, because we were miles ahead at some points, and I think that's what leaves the ultimate bitter taste. And not to mention, they've rubbed our face in it once again. Before they even reach the Champions League qualifiers, they'll have a completely new squad of probably young Primavera players or loans or recent transfers of low quality in terms of wages. And they're going to try to make a go of it again for the Champions League. And I think that's the most disappointing thing, because knowing the likes of Napoli, Inter, and Lazio, of course, that they finished ahead of, could all give a better chance to the country as a whole and help us restore that fourth spot, I think for me is the most disappointing from hearing from you three guys. And Cash, you touched on Eddie Rea, who's no longer our coach. It was probably the worst kept secret that he was going to leave.
I think it was quite obvious.
What's more surprising is we've turned around and signed a coach who's relatively unknown to most soccer or football fans or calcio fans, in Vladimir Petkovic. And I'll let you continue, because you've been vocal or negative towards our previous coach, but you find yourself a little positive today when speaking on our new coach, Petkovic.
Yeah, I mean, following the few days that the guys have been up in Auronzo now, I think that it's I'm seeing things that I like. I see a quite confident and determined coach in Petkovic, who's got a nice idea of what it is that he tries to achieve. He hasn't come there with his mind all made up of how things will unfold. Rather, testing the players, getting to know them, and also the at least proposed comment that we should wait with transfers until he has seen all the players play. I think that's indicating that we are dealing with a coach who is ready to adapt and who is ready to actually forget about anything that he has heard or that people have told him about, for example, Stendado or Zarate for that case. And actually, as I said in the beginning, I like what I see in Petkovic, and all this talk about a back three, and now he's testing 4-4-2, 4-3-3, 3-5-2. I think that's the right way to go. First get to know your players. Obviously, you need to have an idea of what it is that you want to achieve, but get to know your players and then take it from there, rather than taking over ideas and so on from previous coaches or previous knowers about the Lazio. So I like that with Petkovic, that he's come there and he's a fresh guy in the league, and I think we can expect maybe not wonders, or probably not any wonders, but at least a new Lazio, a Lazio that dares to go for a 3-2 win rather than a 1-0 win, and I like that.
Do you dare say the same thing, Scott? A level of optimism for you? Do you share the same sort of optimism that Cash has?
I must admit, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Like, I thought it was time for Eddie Rea to move on. I felt like with him, like, I'm extremely grateful for what he did at the club. Like, basically taking us from a team that were hovering around relegation. He stabilised the team, pushed us much higher than I think anybody expected in the last, especially not so much last season, but the season before that, which was it was phenomenal. But sometimes I think with him, he was kind of more of a guy who seemed to be. He came from an area where he was about keeping clubs up as opposed to pushing them forward. But he did a great job. He's now gone. I was hoping for a bigger name, or at least somebody I'd heard of. So I could sort of relate to the appointment. So initially I was a bit sort of, again, looking at it thinking, who is this guy? But as I've read more about him, it does seem, again, it's sort of that exciting element that it's, sometimes, you do sit there and you want to go, okay, why aren't we pushing forward? Whereas with this guy, it does seem like he is somebody who will attack.
Caxi, do we have the signing of the summer? Usually players associate, or people associate and fans associate signings of the summer in terms of players and free transfers and high transfer fees. But perhaps maybe we have a real gem in our new coach that's a relative unknown to the Serie A world. What do you think?
Maybe. I think what we've essentially done is we've gone from the pragmatic option in Eddie Rea to someone who seems to be enigmatic, and I only see it going one of two ways ultimately down the line. I mean, I know it's early days, but I really think there's only two ways this can go. We're either going to be more successful than we were under Rea, which would be, of course, fantastic, or we've got more kind of suicidal version of Davide Ballardini, which is something that I don't want to think about right now. So yeah, I am optimistic about it, but
no choice.
I'm more I'm optimistic he's going to be the former rather than the latter. But I think it's a well thought out appointment, maybe contrary to what people think. As I understand it, Atari consulted Craniotti's right-hand man, and he suggested Petkovic, and as cronyism has kind of come into play, there's a son of Craniotti's right-hand man is now sitting on the touchline with his iPad working out if the players are in good nick or not. So, it remains to be seen whether this is just an inspired appointment or just a kind of lazy appointment.